Hey guys, how you doing? I wanted to talk to you about our enrollment process and give you kind of an overview of what happens. There's some really important things that we do that really massively helps our retention rate and also the sign-up rate that we get in our gym. So at the moment, our sign-up rate it's around about 70% because of the way that we've structured some of our intros, we make it a little bit more challenging for people to join. And our retention rate is hovering at around about 1.5% to 2%, which is pretty low. If you want to learn more about that, look at the previous video that I did where I talk about all this kind of stuff and the four most important numbers that you have in your business. Anyway, back to the enrollment process. The first and the most important thing to understand is I much prefer having a grow slow mentality. So you see a lot of people in the industry, it's like sign up 100 people this month. You know, I've signed up how many or whatever. The majority of the gyms cannot manage or handle effectively that volume of new students coming into their gym. Okay, if they do try to onboard that many people, the quality of service usually massively drops, which in turn has a big impact on their retention rate. So it might be that, sure, they sign 100 people up, but the experience that they have when they're signing up isn't great. And because the academy suddenly has this new massive influx of students, the classes quality diminishes, all that kind of things go down. So we tend to work on, I might sneeze in 1 second, but I'm apologizing for that. We tend to work on the basis of only ever having one new adult and one new junior student trial per night. So the course of the week, we actually only have 10 trials. That's slightly different if someone's trained jiu-jitsu before, because they tend to know what jiu-jitsu is about. They have some, really they're just trying to see if the quality of the academy or the teaching matches up to their standards. It's a slightly different process. But for brand new students, it is literally we have one a night. Now, it might not sound a lot, but over the course of the month, if we operate 5 days a week, which is when we have trials, that is a 4-day month, that's 20 adults and 20 junior students that are potentially going to come in and try classes and sign up. So even though it's only one a day, it is still quite a large volume of people that you're going to get coming through. And because we're only allowing one student a day, it creates an element of exclusivity. Like they can't just turn up to a class, they have to book in. That makes it feel more valuable to people when they actually get an intro. And it makes it seem like, it's just that same thing. It makes it seem like it's valuable as well, but it also allows our process to stay very strong and give them a really good experience when we come in. So that's the first thing to understand. And if you talk about our sign-up rate from that perspective, 40 people, even if we're at a 75% conversion rate, that's still 30 people signing up a month. If you were to, really maximize it, we don't try and maximize it that much at the moment. The second thing to understand about your enrollment process is that it starts way before they ever step in the door. Okay, really a lot of the hard lifting of getting someone to sign up from your gym should have happened from the moment they kind of became a proper lead. So the moment they actually reached out and contacted you. In fact, before that, so what you post up on your social media, the images that you put out, the videos that you put out, the language that you use, what your website feels like, the process that they go through once they've inquired and become a more solid lead. These are all massive things, okay? And they can have such a huge impact onto your sign-up rate. So for example, if someone enters their information on our website, they get an automated sequence, and within that sequence, they learn a little bit of basic jiu-jitsu. We have an inquiry process. We have a form that they fill out to actually help us learn a little bit more about them. And that's massive because we want them to feel that they are special and that when they come into their gym, we actually care about their well-being and their goals. So we have that in place. And we also include a tour of the gym so they get to see what it looks like. Again, I think I touched on that in another video. I'll drop the link below. These are all really crucially important things. Okay, so by the time that they actually step through the door of the gym, they should be pretty comfortable in the environment. They should know who the instructors are. They might have an approximate idea about what's going to happen on their first class. For us, what jiu-jitsu looks like. These are crucially important things. Okay, so that again, this is I actually have. If you want it, I can send you a link to the emails we use. I create a product about it, or how to set it all up. I'll drop that in the comments as well, so you guys can check it out. But it's super valuable. It will do so much of the heavy lifting of getting new students into your classes that you won't have to worry about. And that kind of automation thing is super, super crucial. Anyway, so the basic process is very, very simple. When someone comes into our gym, we try to greet them within about 10 seconds. So if we see someone, you guys have probably seen the layout of our gym. I posted it in the tour video. They pretty much have to go to the reception desk, and that's always what the first thing that they see should be is a reception desk, so they know exactly where to go. And this is so important, because that initial meeting, that initial greeting is that first touch. It's the point that like your first impression gets made. So if someone has no idea where to go, if they're not greeted quickly, if they seem to be left to their own devices, this is all going to have an impact on them and the likelihood that they're going to eventually sign up in your classes. So we try to greet somebody within about 10 seconds. Now our gym gets chaotic. We have tons of people coming in and coming out. So what we actually do is we schedule our trials to arrive 15 minutes early before the class. I should have mentioned that before. They have to arrive 15 minutes early. If they don't, they cannot attend their trial. We actually re-register them for a different time. They lose that space. Okay, and again, that's important. We're setting them into the standards that we want. Do we lose people who don't come back? Yeah, we do. But the people that stick around with us, they understand the value of what we're doing, and it really increases that perceived value, and it means that they're really committed to what we're trying to achieve. Okay, so that's one of the things that we have in place. Anyway, so initial greeting happens within 10 seconds. We find out their name, and then what we do is we take a little bit of information. So we make sure that we fill out what's called a PARQ. If you don't have one of these in place, it's really important. It stands for Physical Activity Readiness Questionnaire, and it'll highlight any health issues they're going to have. And I try to make this quite jovial and light. So there's questions on there like, have you been pregnant in the last 6 months? Obviously, that only applies to women. It doesn't apply to men, but I still ask the men that, and then I'll follow it up with something like, they'll obviously be like, no, and I'll be like, are you sure? And it just breaks that tension. It makes someone feel a little bit more welcome. They're like, you're a human being. Okay, I might be trying to do some kind of physical activity where they're going to throw me around or whatever, but you seem like a nice person, and it really helps you develop that rapport. So PARQs are essential. We make sure we get things like emergency contact information as well. Whatever else you have in your procedures needs to be done at that point. The next thing that I do is I get them a gi. Everybody who comes into our classes, they get given gi classes specifically, they get given a freshly laundered white gi to try the classes. Okay, and what that does, again, a number of different things. It makes them immediately feel part of the gym. Like when they go into the class, everybody else there is wearing pretty much the same type of gi. Everybody's in white. They don't stick out like a sore thumb. They can always do the techniques that we're going to be teaching in class. It protects our mats. Tons of other reasons that are really important. So we give them a gi. We have basically every size under the sun that you could think of. So A0, 1, A1, A1L, A2, all of them, F sizes, kid sizes, and we have two of each, which allows us to, get the gi clean before we have to give it to somebody else. So yeah, they get given a clean gi. Then we show them to where our changing rooms are, and we let them get changed so that we can then get them into the mode of being in a class. Then normally I come out and I talk to them about tying a belt, and then we show them around the academy, and we start to highlight where different features are. So, here's our bathroom. If you need to use the bathroom, no worries, just let your instructor know. Here's our shower room. If you ever need to use that, you can feel free to use that. We take them upstairs. We show them the training mats. We point out the things like all of the features that we have in the gym. Okay, so things like we've got white mats, for example, to make sure that we can make sure they're super clean. Any blood can get identified very easily. Same reason we have white gis. We have a seating area upstairs. We have like a library of books that we think people might like. We can highlight some of like the trophies that we won, things that we've done in the team, and then we also introduce them to their instructor. And if the instructor's not available, some of their classmates. So people they'll be in. So they're again getting that comfort level so that when they step into the class, they are they're not like feeling totally out of it, like they don't know what's about to happen. The instructor should know their name. All those kind of things are important. Okay, and then the other thing that we'll do at this point as well, once I've got them onto their training mat, and this is based solely onto the layout of our academy, is I'll take their photo and I'll leave them there to interact with the other students before the start of class. Where the class that they join is a beginner's specific class. Like, you have to have a beginner's program. If you want to grow your, okay, I'm going to rephrase that. If you want to grow your academy, you need to have a specific place to have beginners in, okay? Beginners need to feel comfortable in that environment if you want to join. There's a certain amount of people that don't care. They will just get thrown to the sharks, they will get eaten alive, and they will love it. The vast majority of people don't want to feel foolish, they don't want to feel out of depth, they want to be in an environment where everybody else knows nothing, they can make a fool of themselves, and everybody's in the same boat. That is what a beginner's program's for. Beginner's programs shouldn't have blue belts in, they shouldn't have anybody in with lots of experience. They're not a place that people can make up classes. They are solely for beginners. That's what we do, okay? You have a couple of different options. You have like a full beginner's program, which for us is a 16-week program. End of the 16-week ends, they get bumped out of that program and into our regular classes. It's about when they get their first stripe anyway, okay? That 16 weeks also, little tip, coincides with kind of one of the natural drop-off points that people have when they're training, okay? We'll talk about that at a different time. The other option that you have is something like a beginner's intensive. Beginner's intensive is, it's more where you get a group of people in, you teach them for, we normally do it for 4 to 6 weeks, and then from that point, they go into the regular classes once they have a rough understanding of what jiu-jitsu is. So the reason that you might want to choose one or the other is the beginner's intensive requires a lot less time to have happen. You can sell it at the start of every month, which is kind of good for your cash flow. You then, have one class a week that you teach, which is beginners, lasts for an hour to an hour and a half, depending on whether you're doing 4 weeks or 6 weeks. And then at the end of that 4 weeks, they go into your regular classes, builds up your class. So it doesn't add a lot of extra time and energy into your schedule. So it's super important. But you're still having a full beginner's program. The other benefit of that beginner's intensive is it's a fixed period of time. So that means there's less commitment that someone has to take to join your school. It's for 4 weeks, right? 4 weeks is easy, right? If I don't like it at the end of 4 weeks, I can leave. No harm, no foul. When they sign up, we'll get onto sign-ups in a second, but they'll have everything they need to do those classes. So it's like a small chunk of time. It's getting a small commitment out of somebody. Ideally, if you're doing it well, any of your beginners classes, that month they should love it, want to train for the next period of time, want to get into your essentials classes, want to get and keep progressing through the ranks, okay? But it's creating like perceived blocks of time that people can commit to without overextending themselves, okay? So that's one of the two options. The classes, they're taught with the mindset of not trying to make people good at jiu-jitsu, but like teach them what jiu-jitsu is and give them a foundation that they can grow into your main program, okay? So we often get questions about like, because we've released our beginners curriculum, beginners intensive, so people can buy those. Again, I'll throw a link down below this because I know this is a lot of stuff. We get a lot of questions about why certain things in. So like, for example, we don't have a big section on side control in there. There's like transition to mount, but there's not a huge amount. Or why we don't include self-defense techniques, or why we don't include X, Y, or Z. And it's because the goal is not to make people good at jiu-jitsu or even really teach them a ton of technique. It's to get them to understand what jiu-jitsu is, to develop their basic fitness, to get them comfortable being in the environment, comfortable with physical contact, and give them a framework to be able to learn jiu-jitsu and stay in it for a long period of time, okay? So the actual techniques that you teach aren't hugely important, okay? For us, we have a very solid curriculum, very solid program that works very well, but it's more of it's not about teaching techniques, it's about getting people into jiu-jitsu, okay? And there's a big distinction between the two. So that's what I'd highly recommend you do. Anyway, so after their class, they'll take part in every single part of the class. We'll always be pairing them up with people who, are good training partners. They'll be probably do some sparring as well. They'll definitely be doing some specific training, because that's more so what we do in the beginners classes than full sparring. Anyway, once they've done their class, ideally they should be feeling hot and sweaty. They should have had an awesome time. They should have learned something as well. And they'll come downstairs. When they come off the mat, the instructor will either, tell them to go and see our manager, Chris, or myself, whoever's dealing with them. And it should ideally be the same person. Or that person who dealt with them when they took their information before they handed them off to the instructor will be there waiting at the end of class to talk to them. Okay, they'll take them downstairs, they'll go get them into the change room, get them changed, tell them to put the gi in a laundry bin, because obviously they need to be freshly laundered, and then they bring them back to the counter. And this is where, I guess the sales process starts, but really it's such soft selling. I've been on so many courses where people are like, okay, you got to start with an open close, then you're going to go to a close, then you're going to do the other type of sale, and all this kind of process. And you can definitely go down that route, but really, if you've done this process correctly and well, everything that you've done should be of such high perceived value that when you come to talk to them about joining, they should want to do it. They should have had an awesome class. They should recognize the value of jiu-jitsu. They should want to be part of your program. You've made them jump through quite a lot of hoops to do that, and so the actual sales process becomes very, very easy, okay? So all we do is we say, we just have a really simple phrase. We lay out what our beginner's package is. We've created this, again, it's a package, so it's a month-long thing. It includes their gi, their belt. They can train their first month unlimited because we have a full beginner's program. It includes their insurance. I think that's everything. We're also going to be adding in a patch, and I think a t-shirt, and potentially a little bag as well. So it's a real bundle that they get. And the value of that is massive. A month's, for us at the moment, I think a month's unlimited training is $129. You got your gi on top of that, which is probably going to be $65 to $70, because we only really use good quality branded gi. So we use Scramble for a lot of our stuff, although we are going to be transitioning off to our own brand stuff. That's between 65 and let's say 95 quid for a gi. Belt's about 15 quid, because we give them a decent belt. Patches of, a few extra quid. So you're getting 250 pounds worth of tangible things. And what we charge for our beginner's pack at the moment is $129. That's actually going to be going up to $150 in January. Okay, so you're getting all of this awesome stuff. It's low commitment because it's only a month, so the sale is very, very easy. Okay, it's really easy to get people just to say yes. And all we do is we lay it out for them, and it's okay. We always ask them before we get into the sale thing as well, we ask them about the class. It's hey, did you enjoy the class? How did you find training with the other students? Did you enjoy it? And we talk to them, because we'll have had a chat to them and found out their goals and what they're trying to achieve. And it's oh, you said you're interested in getting fitter, developing your flexibility. Can you kind of see how jiu-jitsu is going to help that? And obviously the answer is yes. If it's self-defense, for example, it's I remember you saying that you're interested in self-defense. Can you see how jiu-jitsu is going to help you understand how to control people? And very simple things. So you're just kind of getting them to take that class and then link it to the goals that they want to achieve. Okay, and then you would just lay out, okay, well, this is what most people do. We have this beginner's pack. It's great value. It includes your gi, first month's training, insurance, belt, t-shirt, whatever else that you're going to throw in there. And it's $129, $159, $99, whatever you want to do. Okay, and they go, okay, that's cool. Let's get it going. And we're brilliant. All we do then is we fill out the paperwork. We give them a gi at that moment. Again, we have a stock of gis that they get right at the time. Same with the belt, same with the bag, same with everything else. If we do get someone in that doesn't have we don't have quite the right size for, we'll order it in, and it will come with, by the time it gets to the next lesson. We always make sure that happens. Job done. And then, so the job's not done. Just because they've committed, we've taken the payment and all of that kind of thing, what we then do is they then go up onto a follow-up sequence. And this is, again, super important. Most people, when they buy something, when they spend a decent amount of money, 150 quid, it's a fair chunk of change for a lot of people. It's not pocket change. It's a bit of a commitment. They have some kind of buyer's remorse. Like, oh man, they get in the car. Was that a good idea? Did I enjoy it? Am I going to be able to stick to this? They have all these questions going around in their head. So what happens is when they join, they get put into an email sequence, which is automated, and it starts immediately. The second, what our manager or whoever's doing it is, they enter their information into the system, and it sends them an email that says, hey, I'm going to use John for a name. Hey, John, thanks for coming today. I'm really glad you enjoyed the class. You made an awesome decision by joining us, etc., etc. And yeah, that's it. Then we it just sorry, my brain's a bit away with the fairies because I was up tons in the night with fear. It just it gets over that buyer's remorse. So they get one immediately afterwards. And then they go through a whole sequence which is designed, I think it runs for, it's either 60 or 90 days, I can't remember. 90 days, it is 90 days. And it kind of progresses them along dealing with some of the common obstacles that people have when they start training. So for example, feeling sore, right? Really common. People who don't exercise, haven't exercised before, come to jiu-jitsu, love the first session, they go balls to the wall, they're going super hard. Next day they feel okay, day after that they feel like death. Like everything hurts and they're not used to it. By having this sequence in place, and I know that that's going to be 2 days later, so I send them an email which says, hey, feeling sore? Don't worry, it's perfectly normal. That's part of your body getting stronger. In no time at all, you won't feel this anymore, and yada, yada, yada. So we can preemptively get over a lot of those things. Okay, that's what our follow-up sequence does. So this is a pretty long video. I'm going to try and surmise it as best as I can. First thing, I firmly believe in not getting too many people in at once for trials. We use one adult, one kid a day. If you have a greater bandwidth of people that can deal with that, then you might want to look at it. Most people aren't going to. Secondly, the intro process starts way before they ever come in for their first class. It's your social media posts, website, interaction when they sign up for a free trial. All of that is part of your intro process. Next thing, when they come into the academy, they should be greeted within 10 seconds. Okay, you want to put them at ease, make sure that you're demonstrating to them that they're valued and they are important to you. You want to give them a tour of the facility so they become comfortable. You want to get them in a gi or some kind of uniform that is going to be appropriate for your class. Introduce them to their instructor and other students. And then once they're done, talk to them about joining straight away. Put them in a follow-up procedure. That's everything that we've talked about in a nutshell. If they don't join, should have mentioned this, they go into a slightly different follow-up procedure. We touch base with them a couple of days later, see if they're how they felt, if they want to come back for another class. That's pretty much what that does. If they don't, no worries. They go into our nurture program, and that just keeps them kind of ticking over a little bit of information now and again. So if they ever do want to join, they might come back to us. I hope that all makes sense. Well, long video, but it's a huge amount of important information. If you've got any questions, drop it below.